I mean, think about it. When you look at your numbers at the end of every month, if you're paying a team, that's where the majority of your money is going. Probably more of your money is going to your team than it's going to your marketing. So why wouldn't you want your team to be your marketing, right? And I don't mean giving them sleazy, gear. That's nobody wants another coffee mug with your logo on it, right? They want their own logo.
Yes.
But what they do want is to be treated with value and respect. And if you can learn the ways to do that, then they're going to be a champion for your company. They're going to be a referral.
Hello. Welcome to another knowledge bomb episode of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential and together change the world. If this is your first time joining us, please consider subscribing and hit that notification bell and hit that like button. This will be greatly appreciated in helping getting out this content to great leaders and great individuals like yourself. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Brenda Haire. Brenda is the CEO of Joy of Pursuit, a publishing company providing business builders and nonfiction authors a clear path to amplify results faster and easier. Please help me welcome Brenda with Joy of Pursuit. This is Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness. Brenda, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. It's glad to have you on the Lead to Greatness podcast on today. What I want you to do is just go ahead and introduce yourself to the Lead to Greatness community. Let us know a little bit about you.
Sure. So I'm Brenda Haire, and when our family, we like to joke, I have a lot and it always looks different. And my husband has your hairstyle. So we joke that we're the hairs. I have a lot and he has none. I am the CEO and co-founder of Joy of Pursuit, where we help business builders build businesses around their messages. We also help them with HR practices, and then we help authors build businesses. So our focus is around books primarily, but we do have a big HR component because we feel like that's missing in small businesses. So I've had over 40 jobs in my 49 years, almost 50 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, you can say wow. Yeah, most people do, right? My husband's had two. I've had over 40. And it's not because I've ever been fired. I am just one of those people that have always, worked myself up, solved the problems for the companies, looked at the problems. If they weren't solvable, left the company, that kind of thing. And so I realized a few years back that I'm a natural integrator. And so what that means for listeners that aren't aware of integration or the word integrator is I have the ability to see the bigger picture and see how all the pieces fit together. So I'm a natural puzzle solver, if you will. And so with that, it works well that I've had all these different jobs because it's just given me, they often say, jack of all trade, master of none. Yeah. Well, I'm the master of all of them, right? In the sense that I don't want to do them all. They're not all my specialty, but I can direct you to the right person because I know how it should be done. And so that's what really inspires me is getting the right person connected with the other right person. So in our company, we work with a lot of specialists. We vet our specialists. We're, I was just invited to another event recently. And I said, well, who else is going to be at your event? Because I don't partner with people I don't want to partner with. And that's really important. And so we treat our clients the same way. We want to, vet our specialists so that they're dealing with the best specialists available. And it's inspiring to work with people who have a problem that I can solve.
40 jobs. Wow, that is interesting. 40 jobs. I want you to just real quick, if you can just kind of share some of the similarities and what you experienced like out of these 40 jobs, that's something that we as entrepreneurs can perhaps do a better job in.
Okay. That's an interesting question. So one of the things that I share about my vast work history is I'm willing to try anything once, right? So I've had jobs, my husband likes to joke, I'll try anything for 2 weeks. So I've had jobs as short as 2 weeks. Yeah. And, but I've had careers as well. I was a U.S. Air Force veteran. I've been in the hotel hospitality industry for many years. I was in ministry for many years. And so I've had careers as well during that time period, but I've been working since I was 12. So I've seen it all. What I would say for entrepreneurs, and this really ties into our book series and kind of the existence for this HR series that we wrote, my co-founder and I did, is that you have to lead from a place of setting an example and from really listening to your people, whether you're leading a team or you're leading your clients. I once worked with an entrepreneur, and he was talking to another entrepreneur and said, "Oh, the best part about being an entrepreneur is you don't have to answer to anybody." And I looked at him and I said, "No, that's not a true statement. That's just not a true statement. You have to answer to your clients."
Yes.
And this person actually had a team of about 40 people at the time. And I said, "You're also responsible for your team. Like, yeah, you're an entrepreneur and you get to drive the ship, but you've got a lot of people on that ship and you better steward it well." And so I think that that's really important as leaders, is to not get so far ahead of ourselves that we forget who's walking next to us or who we're taking with us, and to see leadership qualities in people. When you start seeing those qualities, that's when you can raise up the leaders. Until you see those qualities, trying to make something out of nothing it's more work, and it's going to cause that person stress and strife, and they're going to feel like a bigger failure when they do fail because they're not cut out to be a leader. So I think you really need to pick those people wisely. I think great leaders are great listeners. They aren't afraid of feedback, and they want to improve. Leaders that we've worked with over the past, some of the best bosses I've ever had, were people who listened, were people who were never afraid to do what they were asking me to do. They were leading me. They weren't telling me what to do, right? They were leading me through, and really listening and getting feedback. In the different careers where I wanted to grow and I expressed that, they helped me grow. If they were good leaders. If they weren't good leaders, they either stole my ideas and played them off as their own, which that's never good. That'll really make someone leave quickly. Or they just didn't listen and kept going down a broken road that wasn't going to lead their company somewhere well. And so, and I'm not saying I have all the answers by any means, but when your people are bringing you valid answers or valid proven points, they're working with the frontline customers, you should probably listen to your people a little bit and heed their advice.
That is a knowledge bomb. That is awesome. And I need to hear that, to be reminded. What would you say to an individual that really good with technical skills, right? The hard skills, but the soft skills is not there. They're technical, they know the position, they know the job, they know everything about that particular thing, but they're not so good with people. What would you say to that leader that's considering doing that? Because that's a big mistake that we all make.
It is. So I would say get someone in place to be that people person for you. So hire an assistant, hire an HR person, an HR specialist, somebody who can come in and work with your people on that, with those softer skills. In former companies, distancing yourself, the leader of a company who's driving, who's making those decisions, from the people. If they don't have the right skills, distancing themselves from the people, protecting the people from them is vital. If they don't know how to lead and they're just constantly, being technical or driven, to the point where they're, being bossy or overstepping boundaries, overstepping processes, because they're like, we're going to do it this way. This is the right way. And I know this is the right way. Right. You can't lead from that space. You might get away with it for a short period of time. You might get away with it for some particular employees that are used to being treated that way, or that maybe don't have boundaries set up. But your good star employees, they're not going to put up with that kind of leadership. They really want, you have to have some of that nice softness. I will say that I am more of a cut and dry leader. And I tell my people that up front when I'm leading someone, whether it's a coaching client or a contractor, an employee. In the past, I've told them, I'm probably going to step on your toes at some point. And when I do, it's okay to say, hey, wait a minute here. I appreciate feedback. I want to hear the feedback. So I prompt that. Even sometimes when I give speeches, I do a lot of keynotes, and I'll tell people right at the beginning, like, I hope you brought your closed-toed shoes today, because I'm probably going to step on some toes, so I just warn people. And I think there's something to that, but there's also something to be said about being aware of it and knowing your audience, right? You can get away with that in certain instances, but if you lead from a place like that from too long, people are going to leave.
There's another knowledge bomb. And I love that. That was a situation where a publisher telling you were nobody. I want to talk about that, because that's someone that's listening today that may be stuck right now, maybe stuck in a situation based on what someone said to them. Did you navigate through that?
Sure. I'll tell you, I would like to have this really sweet answer that, you just do XYZ, but it hurt. I felt called to first write in 2003. and started writing, got my proposals ready, took them to a Christian-based conference where I met with a publisher. And they said, we love your work. Your titles are fantastic, but you're a nobody. Come back to us when you're somebody and we'll be happy to work with you. And I was like, I thought that's what your job was, like to make me somebody, to get my name out there and to build a platform for me. And unfortunately, that's not how the publishing industry worked then, nor is it how it works now. Traditional publishing companies want to work with people who will make them money. That makes perfect sense. But at the time, being someone new to the industry and trying to figure it all out, I was really thrown back and thought, okay, maybe this isn't for me. I don't know what I'm doing here. And this was prior to Facebook. I mean, we had, I think they had MySpace back then, it was a teenager platform. So it was like, how am I supposed to go out and build this platform when I don't even know what they're really talking about? So I started to teach myself everything I could. I learned how to build a website on Dreamweaver. I, just started diving in. And then, along the way, I did what I call creative avoidance, which is basically, there's a difference between creative avoidance and procrastination. So procrastination is knowing you have a deadline and you've got to get there eventually, even if you wait until the 11th hour. But with creative avoidance, you may never get there. There's not really a deadline. Ultimately there is, right? Because we're all going to die someday. So there is a deadline. We just don't know when it is, right? But with my calling, I didn't have a deadline. There was nobody that said, you've got to publish XYZ book by this date. And so I just started creative avoiding it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go take this safe job over here where I know what to do and how to handle it, or I'm going to, do this, that, or the other. And it really just kind of sent me down some paths that I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. So ultimately, my first book that was published, I share in it how I became, and the first book is called Save the Butter Tubs, Discover Your Worth in a Disposable World. And ultimately, I was the butter tub that my grandmother saved. So the metaphor is, it comes from her always saving butter tubs, but she asked me to write about all the good in her life. And I said, okay, I got to figure this out. I've got to get this book published. And so I share my story with her story in the book, her writing along with my story. I share the lies that we need to get rid of. So this book really walks people through that. So if there is anyone really struggling with that, or they feel like their dream has just been smacked down, I'd highly encourage them to get that book. I walk them through the lies that they have to trash, the truths that they need to treasure. That's really important, holding on to what is true and right in order to transform their life and their legacy. So if they're chasing a dream and they've gotten smacked down, I would highly encourage them to grab the book and take a deeper dive in there. It took me 15 years to write. From 2003, when I first felt called. This book was released in 2018. It set me back. Wow. So if you've been set back, there's always time for a comeback. Now I'm a 6-time published author and I help other authors publish. So
amazing. So from 2018 to 2022, you went from 0 books to writing 6 books in 2022. Wow, let's talk about that.
Well, the month my book was published in October 2018. The end of that month, I took a job with the company that helped me publish that book. Ultimately, it was a vanity press. Took a job with that company, became the president of that company. Wow. And then, so I had no time for writing. I took on this company. And so it wasn't until I decided to leave that company last year that I published book 2, which was the Bible study companion to the first book. It was released in November of last year. And then this year alone, we published 4 more, which is the HR series it's a series of 4 books. And we published them within 6 months. The first one released on my birthday, January 26th, and the last one released on June 9th, which was my business partner's birthday. So it was an exciting year this year to publish 4 books, and I've got about 30 to be written. So I'm looking forward to seeing how many I can get published next year.
Wow. That is some serious overcoming. I mean, to go from, we're talking 4 years, 4 years to go from writing your first book to writing 6.
Yeah, it's because I had to figure it out. So especially when my grandmother asked me to write, when she asked me to write about all the good in her life, she woke up one morning, I was staying with her, visiting, and she said, here, I already started. And she handed me a notebook. So it's like, oh, we're doing this, like, okay. And so I had to figure it out. And because of that, I learned everything I could about the publishing industry as quickly as I could. And that really is what set me up for success today. I mean, that's what I do today, right? I help other authors publish, and I help them from writing the book all the way through publishing, marketing, and building an author business around their book, which is the most important part. Because we all know that, when a book sells for $15, you're not making enough money to live off of. Right. So you need the whole business. And so we help them with that. And it was really, Cedric, I have to figure this out. And because I'm a problem solver, I went and figured it out.
Well, I want to talk about these 4 amazing books that you have written. Let's talk about Team Solutions series. What inspired you to write these books and why?
Well, it was kind of the first question, goes back to the first question, or one of the first questions you asked. Mm-hmm. It was seeing all the mistakes in those 40 jobs, right? It was seeing all the way things were handled and shouldn't have been handled. Mm-hmm. I'll tell people a real good secret here. When you start having problems, write down all the problems and then write the solution next to it. And that solution becomes your next product or service. I mean, it's just that easy. These are the solutions to all the problems I ever had at those 40 jobs right here. And it just happened to be that my business partner is a fantastic HR person. And so we had created a process. We worked together at a previous company and created a process for hiring and for really gathering that feedback you talked about earlier. In these books, we provide, you can go right now to our website, get free toolboxes for all 4 books. And in that, we provide specific forms for people to gather feedback from their employees. We teach people how to gather feedback and how to make that communication open. And so, yeah, it was like I said before, an experience that I was like, okay, people need the solution to this problem, and I feel like I have it, so I'm going to help them with it.
Amazing. So who is this book for?
It is for any small business owner that is trying to run an HR department on their own. It is for the HR person who isn't an HR person, right? They're part of a small business and they're like, hey, you like to talk? Why don't you interview these people? And they're like, oh, okay, I'll hire some people. It's for that person that has no HR, experience whatsoever. And then there's some really good things for people who have actually gone to school for HR. I don't know how familiar you are with EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. That company has some great systems out there, but we feel like we run on that system. And so we feel like our 4 books kind of hit some places where there's some gaps in there. And so it's really for those people who they don't know how to have quarterly conversations with their people. They don't know how to, do annual reviews. They don't know how to hire and actually screen candidates for an interview. So it doesn't matter what the title of their seat is, but if they're doing those functions, these books are for them. And it's practical tools. We call it the SOPs for HR. I mean, you could literally take the hiring process. It's your SOPs for hiring people. The onboarding, same thing, and so forth.
Wow. That's awesome. And yes, EOS with what's the name? Wickman.
Yeah, do you know Wickman?
Yes, with the book traction. I mean, yeah, this is some amazing information. Definitely excited. I want you to, if you could talk to that individual right now that maybe they're a small business and they may feel this is not top of my priority list right now. What would you tell that individual?
I would say it needs to be a priority. It really does. Your team is the most expensive asset you have in a company. I mean, think about it. When you look at your numbers at the end of every month, if you're paying a team, that's where the majority of your money is going. Probably more of your money is going to your team than it's going to your marketing. So why wouldn't you want your team to be your marketing, right? And I don't mean giving them sleazy, gear. That's nobody wants another coffee mug with your logo on it, right? They want their own logo. Yes. But what they do want is to be treated with value and respect. And if you can learn the ways to do that, then they're going to be a champion for your company. They're going to be a referral. They're going to be telling they're going to be proud to say, I work here. If you need this service, we've got it. If they are constantly getting beat down and constantly getting, stepped on, you're going outside their boundaries, you're overstepping processes. If this kind of stuff is happening in your company, your team is frustrated. They're not happy about working there. If you have any doubt, go on Instagram or TikTok, type in HR and look at some of the posts. There's some great, funny, but very sad accounts out there that are HR accounts where these people are posting like what's happening in their workplace and how they're getting run over and how, I've been here for 20 years and I got a new mug. Woohoo. And it's like 20 years. What? And we even quoted some of that in the book, these people or their comments about how they felt so disrespected by all the time and service and that they gave a company and how they were disrespected. So it's just really that important. Your team, you pay a lot, you've invested a lot of time, and you've got to take care of these people. And I would say that the process isn't as long as you think. This is a series of 4 books, but if you're depending on where you are in the process, you can start with that particular process. So it starts with the hiring, onboarding, the retention. So if you're fully if you have a team and you're like, okay, I'm not in the hiring or firing mode right now, but I need to keep the people that I've got, start with the retention, talks about culture and really building a culture of worth where people want to stay.
Amazing.
And then if you're the exit process, now the exit is something that they're missing, and this protects your company. If you don't have an exit process in place, people could be walking away with your assets and you don't even know it. You've got to learn how to protect your company. And as an entrepreneur, you need to talk about a succession plan, what's going to happen, especially if you have a team, if you have clients that have paid you, for services that are, last 6 to 18 months. You need to have a succession plan. Like if you died tomorrow, what's going to happen to all these people? It's all going to fall back on your family. Like you need to have a plan in place. And that's really where the exit process walks them through. So depending on where you are as an entrepreneur, you can pick up the book. They're little short reads. I think the longest one is just about 15,000 words. The rest are about 10,000 words. Lots of practical tools in there to get you set up. It's not like you have to go reinvent a process after you read the books. And like I said, those resources online are free. So you can go download the toolbox, dive in, and it's really your SOPs for all your HR needs.
Wow, that's amazing. Are the books on Audible as well, or is just
not yet? My first book, Save the Butter Tubs, is available on audio. These will be available probably spring on audio. Okay. So we're in the process of working through that.
Okay, awesome. All right, so right now you can get the book on Amazon. Is it Barnes and Nobles, anywhere books are sold?
Anywhere books are sold, and it's available ebook, hardback, and paperback, so whichever people prefer. The other thing I really want to, if people want to go through the books, like if they do have a team and they want to go through it in bulk with their team, they can reach out to us through our website, and we do bulk discounts for people who want to go through it with their team. If they have a larger team, or they have let's say like a chamber, if they're part of a chamber and the entire chamber wants to go through it, we do bulk discounts for that as well. So they can just reach out through our website.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that as well. I want to shift to the publishing aspect, because there are entrepreneurs that they have a story, they have a gift that they want to share to the world, but most people don't know how. So I want to talk to you about you and the line of the work that you do in the publishing industry. Who do you typically work with and why?
Well, we work with 2 different types of authors, really.
Okay.
So most of the entrepreneurs that are probably listening to your podcast, and your familiar listeners, entrepreneurs that are running a business and maybe they're not truly an author, right? They may have an idea, they may have thought about, I kind of want to write this book, but maybe that's not their goal in life, is to be an author, right? Their goal in life is to be an entrepreneur running the business that they're running. So we work with those people, business owners, and usually that's on a one-on-one basis, because they don't have time to be part of a group. They don't have time to do self-study. And so it's a one-on-one basis. If they're not a writer at all, we have ghostwriters that we connect them with, depending on their book titles and what, or their book themes, what their content is. We try to match them with somebody who will work well with that. So we can take them from writing all the way through the process, and they can just be really hands-off, as far as, they're obviously going to give us content, but they don't have to do the process itself. But then on the flip side of that, we work with, in our membership program, we just launched it. It's been open for about a month. It's going to reopen on Friday to the general public. And it runs, I think it's $37.99 a month and like $340 a year, something like that, $345 a year or something. So it's really inexpensive compared to working with me one-on-one, right? And it's for the people who really, they want to write books. They want to learn how to become an author and build a business around it. And that's their sole focus. So I like to think of those people more as writers. They consider themselves writers, and they're just looking on, how can I make money off of this? How can I actually build a business around it? And so we work with those people as well. So it really works across the board. And it's funny how much it crosses over with the entrepreneurs. They need everything that we're teaching these people. It's just teaching it in a different way, right? They all need the same thing. They all need a professional cover. They all need calls to actions and all those good back ads and everything in their books. It's just some of them already have products to go with it, the entrepreneurs mainly. And then some of them we're helping them build those up before they can, actually put a back ad in their book. So
awesome. If someone wanted to work with you and your team, what can they expect from you guys?
Well, like I said earlier, a lot of truth telling. Yeah. So I'm a straight shooter. I'm not going to sell you things you don't need. I'm not going to let you do things you don't need. So I'll give you a couple of examples. One, I have a coaching client who is interested right now in joining another certification program that is going to cost her about $10,000 to be certified on someone else's content. Now, this particular coaching client already has a book. She already has a workbook based on her book, and she's already certified on somebody else's content. And she's currently in a training to be certified on someone else's content. So why on earth would she need another certification, right? Yeah. And so I'm very honest and say, you don't need these things. What you need to do is implement what you've already purchased. So until you're making money from what you've already purchased, stop purchasing. Even if it's from me, stop purchasing and implement what you have already purchased. And so that's one example. Another one, I had a client I was working with who felt like, a lot of times you hear in the industry that if you're an author, you should be an author, speaker, coach. Like everybody should be author, speaker, coach. And we were having a conversation. I just felt it was probably about 4 months into our coaching. And I just said, you know what? I just feel like I need to give you permission right now to not be a coach. I don't feel like that's really what you want to do. And she almost started crying. She said, you're right. That's not what I want to do at all. And, it took her seeing that her schedule, her time, the things that she was focusing on, those things don't allow for you to be a coach the way she was going. And so, just being truthful with people and really trying to find their grace-given gift and find out what really is going to serve you long-term. I would say it's the same with entrepreneurs. Some entrepreneurs, they get in a seat and they are so focused. I've got one right now. He's a licensed counselor, but he's leading with I'm a life coach. No, you're a licensed counselor. Like, let's own that. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs do the same thing, right? They may have a degree or they have a certification in something, or maybe they're building a product over here, but then they're saying that, I'm the CEO of this company. Okay, well, does that help anyone to know that? Like, I opened with that because we were going down this whole path of all the things that I do, right? But if I only had a short moment with you, I wouldn't lead with, I'm the CEO of Joy Pursuit. That means nothing to you. And so they need to understand how to, what angle to share, I guess. And that's really what we get to the bottom of it for them and help them get clear on what to share, how to build true networking around their specialty.
Great information, man. This is a great interview, and the Lead to Greatness community is definitely going to be better for this information shared on this podcast. Someone wanted to connect with you and what you're doing. Where should they go?
They can go to social media, Joy of Pursuit, anywhere on social media, or they can go to thejoyofpursuit.com. And we're all about, we believe that there should be joy in the things you pursue. So just remember that, and you'll remember the joy of pursuit.
Awesome. On behalf of the Lead to Greatness community, I want to thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us all.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
So we want to thank you for joining us today on the Lead to Greatness podcast. And if this is your first time, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button, hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of these amazing episodes. And if you're on iTunes, go ahead and rate the podcast and leave a review. That helps get the word out to great leaders and entrepreneurs like yourself. So we want to thank you for joining us today. So remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace.